On today's show,
No Chris Paul, no problem. The Rockets hand the series opener to the visiting Clippers.
in Game 1 of the Eastern Conference semifinals, the Bulls stole home court advantage because of their offense. Yes, their offense.
And in the up-down report, have we finally seen the last of the Spurs' big three?
It's Tuesday, May 5th. The starter starts now.
Good evening, sweet world, and welcome to the starters. Whether you're joining us live online, you're listening to the podcast, you're watching us on YouTube, you're catching us on NBA TV, very happy to have you. I'm J.E. Skeets, and alongside me, as always, that's Tass Mellis.
We're going to protect home court right here. I don't know what that means.
To my right, we'll find out, starters blog editor Trey Kirby.
Hey, yo!
And the international man of mystery, taking it to the max, that's Lee Ellis.
Amigo.
Yes,
Hey.
Lee. All right, on tonight's show, we're going to get into the up-down report. It's been a little while. We're going to talk about the Spurs' big three and Ty Lawson and the Nuggets, but that's later in the show. We start with the games here on the starters, and let's start in Houston.
What a debacle.
Where this was not like Game 7 between the Spurs and Clippers. This was quite ugly, but the Clippers took advantage of a very sloppy Rockets effort. They win Game 1, 117-101. They steal home court advantage in their semifinal series. And LA, of course, without the services of Chris Paul, which really does make this win even more impressive, or on the flip side, just more pathetic if you're a Rockets fan.
Yeah, it's incredible how bad they looked. And the excuse for rust, not good enough when you play like this, especially in both halves. You have lapses on both halves, 14 turnovers the first half, 10 in the second half, and then allowing shots like that, just defensive lapses. 71 second half points scored by the Los Angeles Clippers without the services of Chris Paul, who were pretty sloppy themselves with 21 turnovers. You said it was an ugly game. The Houston Rockets played some ugly games in round one, but they could overcome them because they were playing the Dallas Mavericks. That's excuse number one. This team in the Los Angeles Clippers is just far better, and their athleticism is being neutralized because the Rockets match up so well with the Clippers, while the Rockets could handle the Mavs. The other big reason, I think, this was mentioned by Brian Shaw on NBA TV, is that James Harden lost the MVP, obviously, and came out and had a bad game afterward. Brian Shaw mentioned that, obviously coached with the Denver Nuggets this year, and that James Harden wanted so bad that he just came out and had a really flat game, and he just wasn't mentally into this game. And I feel like that's probably a great excuse.
You think he took it Harden?
Yeah, he took it very hard. I mean, at half, you've got to kill these guys coming out in the third quarter. And we showed you plays in the third there where he came out and was just so lackadaisical. On both sides. If the effort's not there, then something's going on in the locker room. You can't give up 117 points to a team without Chris Paul.
No, the turnovers too. Yeah, you already pointed out a lot of them there. They were just like a lot of fast break, just sloppy plays, just sort of barreling into guys. No real plan. It looked like half the time when they were on either a 3-on-2 or even numbers coming that way. Really weird.
It looked to me like when they knew Chris Paul was out, when they heard he was out, the Rockets thought this game was easy for them. And they came out pretty complacent, pretty lazy. You can understand when you have a long layoff, there's a little bit of a rustiness offensively there, but there is no excuse for the defensive lapses that you were saying there. James Harden just sort of wandering around, just sleepwalking around. And the Clippers sensed that because, remember, the Rockets got a big lead early on, 13 points, and it looked like they were just going to sort of pull away. But then the Clippers got back into it, and I think they felt right then they had a chance, and the Rockets weren't on their game, and they pounced on them in the second half.
I think you've got to give a little credit, though, to the defense by the Clippers with James Harden specifically. I know it's something we talked about heading into that series, how they had played him well in the regular season. Harden had only shot 38.5% in the 4 games. A big reason why, Redick and Barnes at times, and look, some of these are just Harden being sloppy with the ball. There's no doubt, but they really weren't. They weren't buying or jumping on the Bieber-like crossover moves from Harden. They really tried their hardest to stay in front of him, and at times like this one here, funneling them, just straight funneling them into DeAndre Jordan, who picked up the block there. They did another great job, and the biggest thing, kept James Harden off the line.
Yeah.
That's the hugest thing. Only 6 free throw attempts.
Yeah, you can see the benefit of having a guy like DeAndre Jordan on your back line. The Clippers, Redick and Barnes are able to play right up on James Harden. It doesn't allow him a chance to take the 3, and it doesn't really allow him to get around him, because once you get to the rim, there's DeAndre Jordan just waiting for you, tossing the ball out of bounds time and time again.
Two things. I think they're going to play a lot more Harden ISO and forget the screener just to add another guy there. Just get him out of the way and let's play some ISO.
One-on-one.
I think that'll happen in game 2. And the Clippers just showed you how good they are. I mean, they've just grown up so much. They got down early, double digits, and they're ready. They gathered themselves, obviously led by Blake Griffin. They said, we're too good. I mean, they went from the Spurs to a downgrade in the Rockets, while the Mavs just had to jump up to this level. And the Clippers are showing who the better basketball team is.
Yeah, let's get to Blake Griffin. Another triple-double for this guy, his third of the postseason. I loved how he wasn't settling.
Yeah.
Many times he had, there's a jumper there. But no, I'll take a dribble or two, back in, I'll use my size, get a little hook. Went to work in there, drew some fouls. I mean, time and time again, he would go to the block, especially if it was Josh Smith on him. He knows he's got a size advantage on him, and went to work down there really throughout the entire game. And when, we're showing really mainly the scoring opportunities or the ones he finished, being an and one or when he drew the foul, but a lot of times, if help did come, he was finding that open guy.
He is playing at a top 5 in the NBA level right now, and he is just able to find everyone, and it really helps. That's the only way you can really create shots when Chris Paul is out.
He dictated everything, and what a real leader does is get his teammates involved, and then he goes and scores and uses his body and does it the right way, because you mentioned he wasn't settling for those jump shots and they weren't just falling. He was saying, I'm going to put my body on the line, I'm bumping guys out the way. You mentioned before the show, Skeets, it was like Charles Barkley, just using his muscle and his athleticism to get high percentage looks. His teammates feed off that. You can tell. They know he's looking for them, he's looking to score when they need him to, but that's what a real leader does.
It was pretty cool because he played point guard a lot of the time. Yeah. Obviously, double digits assists. Again, he's third in assists in the league thus far. And obviously, taking advantage of a Josh Smith or Terrence Jones or whoever wants to match up down low, showing he can do it inside, outside, passing. Whatever, this guy has it, and he's obviously grown so much.
No, it's really, I'm with you, Trey. Right now, easily top
for
5.
Sure. He's maybe been the best player in the playoffs so far.
Yeah, that's arguable. He's right there. And again, the first player with back-to-back triple-doubles in a postseason since Jason Kidd, doing that back in 2002. And one of the rare, only big men to really ever do this in back-to-back, Will Chamberlain, John Havlicek. A really great game from him. Back to the Rockets. You can talk about how devastating this loss is because, of course, no CP3. They're at home. They are the rested team, and everyone's thinking, the Clippers are going to come here after that grueling 7-game series against the Spurs. They're going to have a little bit of a letdown. But another thing to add, and you said it sort of, Tass, you slipped it in there, the Clippers did not play that great of game. They're going to be able to play much better. And so that's sort of like a third layer of worry for the Rockets. No Chris Paul. They're the rested team. They still lose at home. I guess fourth layer. And the Clips, they weren't that great. I mean, you saw how much they missed them at times, be it, Jason Terry blowing by Austin Rivers or the pick and roll and the turnovers. I mean, the pick and roll, Tom Lee at Deadspin compared the Clippers' high pick and roll at times. It looked like it was being run in a closet. And it really just points out how impressive Chris Paul is at not turning the ball over.
Well, and how good Blake Griffin is, because in that first half, Barnes, Redick, and Rivers combined for 10 points on 4 of 12 shooting. In the second half, when Blake Griffin's playing point guard, basically, they went 15 for 22 for 44 points. They need somebody to get them shots, and Blake Griffin, from the power forward position, is able to do it, and that's a pretty rare thing in the NBA.
So maybe they could put Sam Cassell in there.
Yes.
It looks good.
He looks great with those glasses,
So here's the question. You're Doc Rivers, you're the Clips, you steal game 1. Chris Paul, still has the hamstring injury. We don't know the full extent, if he's ready for game 2 or whatnot. But let's say he's even ready. If you're Doc Rivers, do you think about, no, just take another night off and let's look ahead to game 3? We sort of already got our split in Houston.
Well, Doc said before the game that if this was a game 7, Chris Paul would be out there and suited up. So sitting here, I believe that Chris Paul will be ready to play for game 2 and that leg will be decent. I mean, it's really hard to say how much in shape or how injured he is at this point. But I think you can even look a little bit more forward with this team and say, they want to get this series over with.
Yeah.
I think they're just that much better. And if Chris Paul is healthy, get out there and kick the Rockets' butt.
It must be so tempting for Doc Rivers to think we've got the split, as you mentioned, so let's just settle for that and go back to Los Angeles. But because of the fact they beat them so easily, I think Doc might think, hey, if Chris Paul's out there, then there's no reason. There's nothing that they did, the Rockets, to scare the Clippers. I think he might think, let's go out and see if we can snatch 2.
Absolutely. And Chris Paul bouncing up and down off the bench there. I mean, the leg looked all right. The hamstring looked all right. Let's hear what people think. If you're Doc Rivers, do you play Chris Paul in game 2 or do you let him rest a little bit longer for game 3? Let us know on Twitter, #TheStarters. Got to take a break. When we come back, the Chicago Bulls take game 1 and home court advantage from the Cavs deep inside the cube. Back with the Starters in a second. Welcome back to the Starters. Jumping over to Cleveland, Derrick Rose looking like the league MVP he once was again. Pau Gasol adding 21, and the Bulls lead from start to finish in the 99-92 victory over the shorthanded Cavs in Game 1 of the Eastern Conference semifinals. Don't tell Tom Thibodeau. that they're shorthanded, though. No Love and no J.R. Smith. He doesn't want to hear it. But Derrick Rose, amazing.
The Bulls got their split already, and yeah, Derrick Rose was phenomenal, but getting so much help. 3 guys, 20-plus points. Their big 3, Butler himself and Pau Gasol. But Derrick was getting to wherever he wanted, and the big difference, obviously, between that MVP season is he's got all this help to get 20-plus in a playoff game. He looked phenomenal. The entire team looked phenomenal, which is the most impressive thing.
Yeah, and some interesting numbers there in the playoffs so far. When Rose gets 2 days rest in the 4 games, I mean, he's putting up nearly 25 points per game, shooting lights out from downtown. And in situations in the 3 games where he's only had 1 day rest, going back to, of course, to the Bucks series, not so well, struggling. I mean, coincidence, actually something to that. A guy, of course, coming off of injuries, getting a little more rest. Makes sense, but a pretty small sample size.
Yeah, it is, but I don't think it is. I think it's a reflection of the fact that when you get more rest, your legs are a bit healthier, you get a bit more time to think about things and plan and prepare for it, because a lot of guys, you see their numbers when they play a lot of games in a row, their numbers drop. So I think with Derrick Rose, especially because he's still finding his game shape, that's a fair understanding of where he is right now.
Yeah, the Bulls got out into a huge lead into this one. Cavs fought back, tied this thing up, and then in the third quarter is when the Bulls just went on that massive run, and it really was the 2-man game at that point, Butler chipping in, but Rose and Pau Gasol, pick and roll situation, and a lot of the times it was ending with Pau Gasol getting very easy, wide open looks. I mean, and as Derrick Rose said after the game, these are like layups to him, these 18-footers.
Pau Gasol has been on fire from mid-range this entire season, even better in the playoffs, and it's just a nice-looking sort of 1-2 game that they were running last night. Kept going to it time and time again because the Cavs had no idea how to stop it. It was pretty cool to see, considering the last guy who was taking those shots was Carlos Boozer, and that didn't always tend to go so well.
Pau Gasol was 8 of 9 on uncontested shots and 2 of 7 on contested shots, according to NBA.com. He was wide open. Big reason Timofey Mozgov doesn't want to come out there. He just loves to stand in the paint. He loves the color red. I don't know, was the paint red? I just said that. Either way, he wants to stay in the paint. I think he only played 26 minutes, Mozgov. They need him, especially with Kevin Love out. He needs to be more active.
Yeah, but also you got to give some props to Rose because coming back from the knee injury, his court vision has looked better than it has basically in his entire career. I think he is playing the game slower, in more control, seeing things better, and he's seeing passes that he wouldn't normally see in the previous, 6 or so seasons in his career. He's throwing all these crazy baseline passes. He's able to find guys everywhere on the court in the pick and roll. He's got the John Wall jump up in the air, hang for a while, and finally somebody will come open thing. It's been pretty impressive because Rose, early in his career, not the greatest passer.
No, but you mentioned as well with Pau Gasol's shot chart back there, Tash, the reason there was so much green around it is because Gasol moves around so much. So Mozgov doesn't really know what to do. If you do come out of him, he can go and post up low, he can step back and knock down that jump shot. It just gives the Bulls offense so much more variety when you've got Butler out there, you've got Dunleavy in the corner, Rose is hitting his shots, and then you've got Pau Gasol. So the Cavs are like, who do we defend here? Someone has to be open.
It's a ridiculous third option.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what he essentially has been. They haven't looked at him, even through the Bucks series to go to him. No, his shots are in the teens. He hasn't got up to 20 shots. And that's pretty good. That's a pretty good option.
I think it helps, that whole pick and roll situation, when the 3-ball is falling too. It definitely spaces the floor a little bit more. Dunleavy on fire early in this game. He was chipping in the threes. Butler, of course, shot well. Rose, again, phenomenally well. It's that 2 days rest. He's just on fire when he gets his rest from 3. Brooks throwing in one. 10 of 18 from 3, 55%. Cavs 7 of 26. We knew they were going to struggle a little bit with no JR and no Love. I don't think many thought it would be that glaring, though, and be it contested, uncontested. Bulls are just knocking down the 3. I mean, it's strange living in a world where suddenly the Chicago Bulls and the Washington Wizards are just like these 3-point gunning teams here, have turned into the Warriors to some extent. But I mean, it really does change the game when you can space the floor and you get a little more room to just operate in a pick and roll situation.
And that's why Mike Dunleavy is such an important player for the Bulls and why we probably won't see Mike Miller guarding him too much more, because those first few 4 wide open threes that Dunleavy knocked down just forced the Cavs to switch LeBron onto Dunleavy, which just opened things up for Rose inside, which eventually opened things up for Pau Gasol. It was a nice chain reaction.
What do you think about LeBron's game? One of those weird LeBron games where the stat line's pretty impressive, but at the end of it, you're sort of just left going, oh, not a good one for LeBron.
No, I did not like that game whatsoever. He didn't look right. I didn't even think his shot attempts looked right. A lot of the times he was just sort of shooting off bounds. He was getting his feel for what the Chicago Bulls are going to do to him. And give credit to Jimmy Butler. Phenomenal. He played him 73 of the 75 possessions. Wow. I don't know if Jimmy Butler can keep that up. He was gassed at the end of it, but he didn't foul once. And that's just not right. I mean, that just can't happen with LeBron James out there. too many turnovers, 6 turnovers, just giving the ball away, and a lot of the shots just off balance.
Here's the thing, with the Bulls versus LeBron in the playoffs, have we seen this movie before?
Oh yeah.
Trey
familiar.
definitely has, being a Bulls fan. You remember 2011 East Finals? Well, Bulls took game 1, they lost in 5. Same thing, 2013 East Semis, Bulls took game 1, they lost in 5, and then last night they take game 1 again from the start to finish, lead this game. But how does this one end? This is a very fascinating. I don't think this one ends in 5. I'll say that right now. That's not a bold statement by any means.
This one ends in 6 for the Cavs, so they'll take another game. The Bulls will, but it's like Tess says, LeBron comes out, he uses game 1 to see what the Bulls are going to do. If it goes poorly, that's fine, because he'll get the next 4.
Yeah, and the Cavs are going to win 1 in Chicago.
Guaranteed.
You said that at the beginning. All right, got to take a break. When we come back, we'll jump into the up-down report. Have we seen the last of the Spurs' big 3 together? We'll debate that and more. Come on back. You're watching The Starters. Welcome back to The Starters, into the up-down report, where the 4 of us figure out where we stand on some hot-button NBA topics, and we ask you to do the same. Yeah, thumbs up or thumbs down. Get those thumbs ready. Ask you to do the same. Jump on Twitter, hashtag The Starters, thumbs up or thumbs down. You can use emojis. We're not going to be upset. All right, first one, guys. The likelihood of the Spurs' big 3 breaking up or down on Duncan, Ginobili, and Parker continuing to play together. Tass, you're shaking your head.
They ain't going out like that, Skeets, and it's not going to happen. They know this team is phenomenal. They consider themselves one of the better teams in the NBA. They should have been. I mean, Tim Duncan, after they got eliminated in the post-game press conference, after that emotional game, said, we just got caught in the wrong playoff bracket. That will be corrected next year. They went home at the beginning of May. They're upset by that. They've got so much rest, considering they're not playing until the mid-June. They're going to come out fresh next year and make one more run at it. This is not a first-round playoff exit team.
The rest of us thumbs up, thinking that this is sort of the end. Where are you leaning? Why is this the end? Not Duncan, not Parker. Is it Ginobili? That's where I'm going with this. I think Ginobili's hanging it up.
Unfortunately, I agree. I think Manu had a really tough season this season, and I think if he comes back for one more, it might be even worse for him. And it's always worse if you hang on for one season rather than go out too early. But also, the Spurs have to now think about the future, and it's easier to do it in stages rather than just lose all 3 of these guys potentially at once. Lose 1 each season, and so then they can incorporate new players, whoever, if they get a free agent in the off-season. It's Kawhi Leonard's team now, we know that. They're going to sign him to a max deal, make him your cornerstone, and then slowly build around him and slowly phase the other guys out.
Manu said
100% agree.
Manu said he's not playing past 2016. Ooh. So, that, and he also said he's not playing this summer. He's also going to get so much more rest this summer again because of those 6 weeks. I think he is coming back for one more shot. You're right, it wasn't a great year for Manu, but he still played in 70 games. So, it wasn't like he was unhealthy.
True, but he also had basically his worst season since his rookie year, and he's getting older. I don't know. He just seems like the most likely of guys to leave to me. I think Tim Duncan, no doubt, will stay around. He's going to stay around until they hand the cornerstone stone, like when he passes the stone, he'll hand it to Kawhi, and then also like a
kidney stone or no?
No, it's just a standard cornerstone.
Okay, I got you. I know what you're saying. All right, next one here. Let's hear what you guys
I don't.
I was lying. All right, next up or down, guys. Nuggets and Ty Lawson parting ways. Thumbs up or thumbs down? You see it there. A lot of us thumbs up that they will part ways. Lee, you say they won't. And the reason we bring this up is last week on Instagram, Lawson, asked by a Mavs fan to come play for Dallas, his reply, which he has since deleted, I wish.
I wish.
Yikes. I mean, Lawson had a long, very rough season with the Nuggets, so you guys agreeing with me here that this sort of feels like they could part ways at some point this summer.
It's not the right time to do it, though, because his value right now is at the lowest it's probably ever going to be, and other teams are going to try to capitalise on that and maybe lowball the Nuggets into try to trading him. He's only got 2 years left and $25 million left on his contract, which is nothing with the new salary cap going up. He averaged 15 and 10 last season, so not terrible. He's still a good point guard,
great.
and you should only trade him if you are definitely getting someone better at his position coming in. And if you look right now at the point guards in the league, John Wall, Derrick Rose, Kyrie Irving, Steph Curry, Jeff Teague, Mike Conley, Chris Paul, and James Harden or Jason Terry, they're still in the playoffs right now, so you need a good point guard right now. I think Ty Lawson's a good point guard. They're going to get a new coach, give him another year, see how it works out.
You don't need a good point guard if you're the Nuggets because you should be rebuilding right now, and Ty Lawson is the most tradable piece, and he's still really good. You'll get some decent draft picks back and maybe a decent player.
It's time to go.
Yeah, I agree with you. All right, final one here. Love this one. Up or down, thumbs up or down on LeBron breaking his cell phone ban. I don't know if you guys caught this. LeBron, he's made a habit, of course, out of shutting off the cell phone during the NBA playoffs. He does it every year, unplugs from the grid. You see the Instagram there before the playoffs started. Zero Dark 3023 activated. Hashtag strive for greatness. But over the weekend, he broke his no cell phones during the playoffs policy after watching Chris Paul in Game 7. Quote from LeBron here, I called Chris Paul from my wife's phone. He answered the phone. He was like, what's up? I told him, don't say nothing. You're not allowed to reply. You're not allowed to say anything. I told him how amazing he was and how great he was, and I hung up on him. I haven't spoken to him since.
That's a great story.
It is a great story. Lee and I, thumbs down on this one. Trey and Tass, thumbs up.
If you're not going to call your friend after the biggest moment of his career, when are you going to call somebody? It's 2015. Nobody calls anybody anymore anyways. This is a legendary moment, and that's why LeBron had to pick up the phone. Can't be mad at that.
And it was his wife's phone. I guess.
Exactly.
It wasn't his phone.
He didn't just say, hey, what are you calling me for? He said, what's up to LeBron's wife. Anyway, listen, rules are rules. Rules are rules, LeBron. If you can't discipline yourself and stick to your own rules, then chaos ensues.
Yeah, and you saw how much he
Chaos.
struggled in Game 1. I mean,
Exactly.
this is not a coincidence.
Karma.
Right?
Yeah. So
That was
that's-
perfect. LeBron got exactly what he wanted out of this. Chris Paul didn't say nothing. Bang.
What's up? Who knows?
Said what's up. What? I mean, that's weird.
Let's hear what you guys think. We got to take one more break. When we come back, Lee's very solid play of the night and a look at tonight's playoff schedule. Back to the starters and over to Lee for his very solid play of the night. Where are we going?
We're going to Houston. It was a pretty bad performance from the Rockets in the second half last night, but it started off all right. Old man Pablo got this one going and finished this play with a beautiful swish bomb. He's been very good for them. They needed a few more plays like this last night. They'll need him in Game 2, and that's what I call a very solid play.
Old man Pablo.
You're talking very weirdly.
It's for Pablo. I'm trying to make sure he can understand it.
Okay. A look ahead at tonight's NBA schedule. Wizards and Hawks. 8 p.m. Eastern on TNT. That one's followed by the Grizzlies and Warriors. Speaking of that series, Mike Conley still listed as of recording here as questionable for Game 2. He missed the last 3 because he got elbowed in the face and had to undergo surgery with the fractures around his eye. But he worked out with the team Monday and said he believes he will play. So it's really now up to the medical staff there at the Grizzlies and Coach Yeager. But I would think he's going to play. In the Wizards Hawks series, John Wall and Bradley Beal are going to play. We can confirm that. And that's a look at John Wall's swollen hand.
Wow. His hand's so big it has 2 other hands on it.
Yeah, it's a very odd photo. But so maybe Conley tonight for the Grizzlies. Wall and Beal are back, and we'll be back tomorrow, 5:30 p.m. Eastern.
Thanks for joining us, folks. And remember, blind people smile despite never having seen a smile because it's a natural human reaction.
Race the night, people.